What if you, as a leader of a real estate team, were to have salaried employees versus commissioned agents? Have you ever thought what that might do to your client experience, what that might do to your retention, what it might do to your overall culture? Danny Brown of Myriad from Arizona has invented this model, or refined it, and he's now having great success with it. He's going to share the pros and the cons of the traditional model versus this new model. It's something to take a look at, something to be aware of. There may be some things in here that you utilize. You may want to adopt this model entirely. Nevertheless, Danny Brown is a big thinker, and he's somebody that you can learn a lot from. You're going to enjoy this episode. Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddart. Excited today to bring you a topic that maybe most people haven't thought of, which is what if you were to build a real estate team based on salaried employees as opposed to commission employees or agents? That's the topic of today's show. Which one is better for the team? Which one's better for the consumer? We're going to hear from somebody who believes that this is the way of the future. Before I fully introduce him, I want to remind you that inside the Think Bigger Real Estate group on Facebook is where we put snippets of these shows, the nuggets, the takeaways that we get from this. We put it in very bite-sized, digestible pieces of content for you to be able to apply this into your business and truly become a big thinker, high achiever. So with that being said, I'm excited to have on the show Danny Brown. He's out of the Arizona market. He is with Myriad. Danny, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for coming on to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show.
Thanks for having me, Justin. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a total pleasure. I think you're, as CEO, as a realtor yourself, let's talk a little bit about maybe your kind of progression to this point where you realize, like, you know what, I'm going to try it. I'm going to do a different model. How long have you been in the business? And kind of what did that look like prior to the point that you started Myriad?
Yeah, so I got into real estate in 2007, and right when the real estate market was collapsing, and I'm in the Phoenix market, so Arizona was hit really hard in the financial collapse, and I grinded my teeth on listing and selling bank-owned properties. I joined a team, and that's, I felt really fortunate to be able to do that. I learned a lot about real estate in a really short period of time, so I felt like I became a veteran because I was involved in about 150 transactions per year for about a 4-year stint, selling homes for the banks and then helping the periodic buyer at the same time. The real estate market then started to shift in Phoenix as the bank-owned market kind of dried up, and I pivoted and changed into a buyer's agent role, where I was involved in the very typical real estate model where the team lead would bring in the leads and feed them to us, and then it was our job to convert the lead, and we were paid on a 50-50 split, which I'm sure most of your audience is very familiar with. After a few years of doing that, I realized that there was basically a ceiling on how many clients I could help by myself and what I could do. So I decided to start my own real estate team and kind of become that team lead. And not knowing any better, I created the same model that everybody else creates, where I'm the team lead. I've got maybe one admin person, and then I've got buyer's agents underneath me that I feed the agents the leads. Their job is to convert it, and then you pay a 50-50 split. And that worked for a little while. But I had a revolving door on my business where, just like myself, the buyer's agents realize after a certain period of time that they don't necessarily need you, that they can do what you're doing and either buy internet leads, or they've created a sphere of their own and they decide to branch out and create their own team or go out on their own. So after a while of doing that, I just racked my brain that there had to be a better way to create a real estate team. And so I pivoted with one of my mentors at the time. She and I kind of created this model of everybody being on salary. And it really started to change our company culture, where I don't think that we really had a strong company culture before, because everybody was just in it for themselves and would compete with one another for business. When I was a buyer's agent and I went on vacation, I actually had to pay another buyer's agent on my own so-called team to cover my business if I was out of town. And I felt it was just bad culture all around. And it wasn't this team environment that everybody wants. And so when I created this model of everybody on salary, I really focused on bringing people onto my team that were client focused, that were team focused on helping each other achieve these goals. And I've got to tell you, I've never had more fun in real estate, and I've never made more money in real estate with this model.
It's really interesting. I think we oftentimes would question the kind of the sanity of that model to say, why would an agent give up all of this income, all of this opportunity to go on salary, right? However, for people that are outside of the real estate industry, the average amount that a real estate agent makes isn't, like, despite how nice their car may be, right? Despite kind of like at least the lavish looking vacations, that you see, and some of that's totally legit. Some people absolutely kill it, no doubt. But the average amount that a real estate agent makes, especially probably working on a traditional team environment, is what, maybe, I don't know, you may know the numbers.
Yeah, your average, so I'm in the Phoenix market, and your average agent in the Phoenix market closes less than 10 transactions a year and makes less than $28,000 a year.
Okay.
And that's before paying taxes, and when you pay taxes as a realtor, you're 1099 and you've got to pay that self-employment tax. So it's like a third of your income is just gone to taxes. So you end up not making very much money, at least the average agent. And in Phoenix, the average agent lasts 2 years before they decide to get out of the business. And surprise, surprise, that's when all your real estate dues are due, is after 2 years. And so that's why your average agent only makes it that long.
So although this may not be a model for everybody, I think there's a group of agents out there that would really benefit from having a very secure, predictable income and be in a spot to where they can give their entire focus and service to the customer, as opposed to always worrying about where the next deal is going to come from, right? Now, I would imagine, Danny, I'd love to learn a little bit more about your model. Are agents still responsible to go get their own leads in their own business, or does the team provide that in your environment?
So most of the business comes from my network, my sphere, the leads that we generate as a team. If they're able to generate leads from their own sphere, and I encourage them to do that, I encourage them to join networking groups, whatever that may look like. And for me, a networking group could be joining a CrossFit gym, could be playing golf. The great thing about real estate is that everybody needs a home to live in. So a networking group doesn't necessarily need to be a professional business networking group. It can be anything. And so when they bring deals from their own network and sphere, I do pay them a 25% referral fee, because that's at least what they would get if they referred that business as a licensed agent, how much they would get if they referred that business to somebody else.
Yeah.
So I do pay them a referral fee.
Interesting. So that's kind of their bonus, right? It's a salary plus bonus incentive opportunity is how you've done it.
Yeah, and we do profit sharing. So when the team as a whole does well and we hit our certain profit margins that we have set for ourselves, then the whole team gets to partake in sharing in those profits as well. So it really kind of creates that unity amongst the team for us all to work and help each other, because we want the company to do well, because we all want to participate in that profit sharing program. And so we really strive to provide high level of service to our clients, because most of our business comes from referrals and word of mouth. And they really strive to cover one another and make sure that the job is getting done, because their income really depends on it.
Yeah. One thing that I'd love to hear is that you oftentimes hear people talk about kind of the added fire that comes into somebody when they're on commission, right? That kind of there's a new fuel. They're willing to work harder, work longer, maybe take care of people at different levels. How have you combated that, or is that even a real thing? Have you realized that people are de-incentivized when it's not commission-based, it's more salary-based?
I've found that that's not an issue for us. It all comes down to the hiring process and making sure that you're hiring the right people. I think that fire exists in individuals, or it doesn't. It doesn't matter what sort of pay program that you're on. Now, realtors, people who get their real estate licenses, have these visions of making tons of money, making their own work schedule, and really have delusions of grandeur of becoming an HGTV star, and having their name in lights. And I think people who are commission only are wired differently. You and I are entrepreneurs, and we're just wired differently than somebody who wants the predictable income of a salary. And so what I found is that I have more people interested in working for me than less. And I tend to hire outside of the real estate industry. I've never had luck with my model hiring traditional agents. I've only had luck with my model hiring people who may have not even considered real estate as a career because it is commission only. And these people have drive. Their passion is customer service, and their passion is working for their coworker and making sure that our team has a good, reputable name in the industry. And so I've never had to combat people not being motivated. Not everybody's money motivated. And so it really comes down to the hiring process and making sure that you're getting the right people on the bus and in the right positions. And then everything else kind of falls into place.
So a couple more questions for you.
Yeah.
What, if you can give me some sort of range, I'd love to hear kind of what a typical salary looks like. Obviously the bonus part of it is up to the agent based on how much business they bring in, right? So that's the part that they can really flex. Like what does it look like if somebody's, applying for a job with you to be a salaried real estate agent? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, keep in mind that the cost of living throughout the country is very different. And so if somebody's trying to mimic this model, that salaries may need to vary. But for us, entry level for someone who isn't licensed and still needs to go to school, we tend to start in the low 30s. And then up to an experienced showing agent that's out in the field showing homes, probably into the low 40s. And then, of course, they've got profit sharing on top of that. So they end up, at the end of the year, they can net well over $60,000. I also cover all of their real estate dues. I offer a 401k plan with matching. And I do mileage reimbursement as well.
Really interesting. So it really does look and feel like a traditional employer, right? You're just simply doing the business of real estate. Is there anything that these agents would not be doing that they would normally be doing working on a typical real estate team? Like you said, showing agent, it made me trigger or think to ask the question, is that what they're doing, is out showing homes? Or are they also writing contracts? They're also negotiating contracts. They're also lead generating, like they're doing that kind of stuff as well, I would imagine, right?
Yeah. I mean, I use the word showing agent, or lead buyer specialist tends to be a word that we use a lot, but they're very similar to a buyer's agent. What I've kind of done is divided out the real estate transaction, and we each specialize in a different portion of that transaction. So like our showing agents don't handle listings. They're only exclusively helping our buyer clients. They're writing the contracts. They are negotiating the contracts. They're helping negotiate the BINSRs. They're doing all of those things. They have more oversight. So I'm very much involved, and my COO, she's very much involved as well in managing the day-to-day. So I have more oversight, more involvement with the clients, which I tend to prefer, because if somebody leaves the team, a lot of times in a traditional model, if a person leaves your team, they end up taking their book of business with them. In my model, I retain more of our clients because I've got those touch points, because I'm helping and I'm involved in the higher level portions of the contract. So I'm checking in with all of our current clients every single week. I do theme days, Monday through Friday. And so I check in with all of our active clients who are under contract or listed with us every single Tuesday. And then I do honor calls every Thursday, where I check in with all of our buyer leads, active buyers who are out searching for homes, getting a gauge on how they're feeling, what their stress level's like, how our team is performing. So I'm very involved in that client, those touch points with the clients. So that loyalty with your database tends to be more towards the team than rather one individual person.
Mm-hmm. You become kind of the key fiduciary to all the clients. You've got kind of sub fiduciaries or even functionaries that are helping to facilitate a great client experience. But ultimately, it's kind of your business and your database, right? Your client base.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, you had mentioned other parts of the country. Is Myriad expanded outside of the Phoenix area, or is that your intent?
No. What I meant was that other parts of the country, the cost of living is different. So if you were mimicking this, your salaries may have to vary just based on the cost.
Mm-hmm.
We're not opposed to expanding probably within Phoenix. I've explored kind of that idea as maybe creating this as into some sort of franchise model. But we're very much in the infancy of that as we're still trying to figure some of the stuff out ourselves.
It's interesting. What do the clients say? I mean, what's the feedback that you get from clients who have experienced maybe other situations? Now, I would imagine if somebody had experienced a different real estate agent and they didn't go back to them, their view is probably a little bit jaded because they didn't necessarily have a realtor that was good enough to come back to, right? But I'd love to hear kind of what the general consensus is when the consumer hears that our people are on salary, right? Is there a difference?
Yeah, we're really big into follow up with our database and our past clients, like I said, and making sure that they have a positive experience. And what tells me that I'm on the right path is the feedback that I get from our clients who have experienced multiple models. And the consistent feedback that I get is that our experience with your team has been the best experience that we've had dealing with a real estate transaction. You guys removed a ton of the stress from us, and it made it for a very pleasant and smooth transaction. My philosophy is that if you try to be all things to all people, you're going to be mediocre at best. So if you're trying to not only help facilitate the sale of their home, but at the same time help them purchase the next one, you just get diminishing returns because you have only so much time to be able to do all of these things. And so if you truly want to provide a high level of service and have a super high positive client experience, you need help. And you need people who are going to specialize in those different areas so that they can be really good at those individual tasks. I mean, I'm not going to compare myself to, say, a doctor or an attorney, but in those fields, they specialize, right? So if you have a brain surgeon, they're not the one coming in and doing all the prep work, getting the patient ready. They come in, they do the one thing, they're really good at it, and then they're gone, and they've got other people to kind of handle the rest of it for them. So that's kind of how we developed our team, is to specialize in those individual portions of the contract.
What have you found? You mentioned you hire outside of the real estate industry. What are some of the best places you found to find talented people that are excited to be in real estate and excited to not be on commission?
Food and hospitality, which there's a lot of unemployed people in food and hospitality.
I was going to say, boy, now's a key time to tap into that talent group.
Yeah. But those individuals are high client experiences because they are client facing. They're typically working in restaurants and they get paid on tips. So they want those people to have a really positive experience in the restaurant. And so we've had very good luck with those types of individuals because they are extremely outgoing, very friendly. They are slightly money motivated, but they're also super motivated to make sure that the clients have a positive experience.
You find, your model, there's other models out there, right? That do kind of a salaried experience. I think, Redfin is one of them. Obviously they're heavy on the technology side, yet their fees are also, pretty discounted, and that becomes kind of one of their, plays. Are you guys, do you find yourself more towards the discount side or kind of more like a traditional commission setup?
Yeah, we're more towards the traditional setup. We do, we charge 6% for our services. Of course, that's not firm. We do negotiate depending on the situation in terms of the overall pricing, but where I think we're different than Redfin is that we are working, a client's never getting passed around. So while everybody is licensed on the team and everybody can step in to cover from someone, they are creating a relationship with the individual that they're working with. So I view myself with my showing agents as working with them and supporting them through the process. Yeah. So our clients are creating that relationship with one individual person with the help and support of myself, with the help and support of my COO/transaction coordinator. And so that's where I think that we're different than them. And, we charge for our service. We have minimums as well. So if people are looking below certain price ranges, we've got minimum pricing that we include. So, we're more selling people on the experience rather than a shortcut.
One of the problems that I love that you solve for agents is this fact. In fact, I was thinking about this morning as I'm just releasing a book called The Upstream Model. That's a strategic way to generate business from strategic partners. And the thing that I've realized that many agents spend the majority of their time looking for the next deal, and the client experience suffers as a result oftentimes because they spend so much time either paying for, working on, or think to be generating that they actually they don't commit the same amount of time to their clients, right? And obviously there's, the fundamental concepts that if you pour all your, effort and value into your existing client, it will lead to the next one. And I think there's some truth to that, but I also think that oftentimes that doesn't allow people to grow at the pace that they want to. They still need to create time lead generating, and kind of the model that you've created where you have a support team of people who are salary based is an interesting model because it potentially solves that problem for the agents that that are on your team, because they aren't worrying all day, every day, I've got to go get my next deal to get paid, right? They can really pour value into their existing clients, knowing that they're going to get paid, right? Because it's salary.
Yeah. And I think that that's actually better for the client as well, because you're removing that commission question from the equation. So whether we're helping someone buy, a $250,000 home or $1 million home, my guys are getting paid the same. They're getting supported regardless. So they're pouring their heart, their soul into that client experience. And our clientele never have to worry about, is this agent giving me certain advice because they're worried about their commission, because they're worried about getting paid. If you're an agent and you're running out of funds to be able to pay your bills, could you subconsciously give a client poor information or misleading information to try and keep a deal together, even though it's maybe in the client's best interest to cancel because you're reliant on that commission check coming in? I've removed that completely from the equation. My guys are getting paid no matter what. And so the advice that we give to our clients is truly, I think, at their best, we have their best interest at heart.
The only thing obviously that gets carried on to you now, because now you have the responsibility to not just pay for yourself, but a team of employees, right? So you probably feel that, but as long as you can generate business at a high enough level to where that's not a concern. I do know that there are agents who we feel it, because so I'm on the title and escrow side. And I know that there are agents who we feel it when they need a deal to close, right? And it's not necessarily in the best interest of the client, right? It's like this thing has to go through. And yeah, there comes a point where your own basic needs are in jeopardy when all of a sudden it gets really hard to truly be a fiduciary and to be altruistic about taking care of the client. So if you can solve that problem, I think it's a great experience for the client, and you'll have more happy clients and people coming back. So fascinating concept, Danny. I appreciate you being willing to come on and share so much and being willing to innovate. I think the industry needs innovators. It needs leaders. It needs big thinkers. It needs people like you that can come in and say, what if we tried this? And hey, this is working. Let's double down, and let's not just do that. Let's share this with other people, right? So I want to thank you for that. I also want to end with the signature question of the show, which is, you are a big thinker, right? No doubt. I don't think there's anybody that would argue that the way you're going about this. My question to you is, what does Danny Brown continue to do to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities? What does that look like for you?
So I've spent basically since COVID happened, and I really shifted my thought process when dealing with our clients, is that I'm not just advising them on a real estate transaction. I'm trying to advise them on how to grow their wealth and using real estate as a portion of that. So I have shifted my focus on where I spend my attention trying to learn and sharpen the saw on not only staying up to date on what's happening in the real estate market, but what's happening within the economy as a whole, and how to better advise our clients when it comes to their real estate purchase on what to do. Like right now, I'm advising a lot of our clients to explore putting less money down on the purchase of a home because interest rates are so low. And if they can shift that and put that money into, say the stock market, and make a higher return than what they're paying on interest, then that could be a very smart move for them financially. I'm not pressuring them to do that. I'm just posing the question, telling them to talk to their financial advisor and explore that as an option. Whereas before, I never would have done that. So trying to be more well-rounded in terms of helping people grow their wealth through owning real estate is really kind of where I've shifted what I try to learn.
I love that you said that. I probably couldn't have asked for a better plug into, again, the book that I'm releasing. And this isn't about me, but I just get excited about people who see it that way. It was actually Ben Kinney who said the phrase at an event that I attended years ago, where he said, the future real estates are to be a wealth advisor for people's real estate portfolio. And I thought that was brilliant. And it goes right aligned with what you said. And I think that's the level of expertise where people are willing to continue to pay higher commissions, right? If it's like, all I get is somebody marketing and listing and selling my house or helping me find a house, Redfin can do that just fine, right? But if it's, I'm now getting high level expertise, and not only that, but I'm also able to have other partners around me, like a wealth advisor, a CPA, that now I can fill the gaps of my clients. And like when they need another strategic partner that I've already vetted for them, now all of a sudden your value offering extends beyond the silo of real estate, right? You become much more valuable, and you're now giving insight that is far more valuable than any commission ever would be, right? And you become uncommoditizable, and I believe out of the reach of the disruption that big tech is bringing our way. So I love that you said that. I'm totally aligned with with the way that kind of you see, that element there. So thank you so much for sharing that, Danny.
Absolutely.
Such a pleasure. It's fun to hear that we've got a friend in common even before this, and fun to have another big thinker kind of in our world. So I look forward to staying in touch. Thank you again for contributing. And I want to remind everybody that if you are more interested if you're interested in learning about Danny Brown and kind of his whole model, right? I think it's one that we should all at least be aware of and evaluate. How's it working based on what my model's doing, right? What's the website where people can go to, Danny, to get that?
Our main website is myriadaz.com. And okay. I don't know if you'll tag that in the show notes.
Will.
Perfect.
I will. myriadaz.com. Very good. Well, thank you for that. And again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today and for being big thinkers yourself and for giving the time and attention to learn from people like Danny Brown. It will only help you to be a big thinker, hey achiever. And along with that is my final request, which is go think bigger. Thanks so much, Danny. Such a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Bet.